Hello everyone, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with Kuroko in a Basket Season 2. We are on episode 7, and in the last episode, we finished the official 40 minutes of the match between Shotoko and Serene, and it was an exciting game. All of the characters that were basically watching from the sidelines or on the bench were wishing for it to just continue on forever because it was that exciting, end-to-end stuff. We had Kuroko come in when it looked like Shotoko was just definitely going to get that win. Kuroko came in, he'd perfected his vanishing drive and took on the likes of Midorima and Takao twice. The second time he took on Takao was insane because he was coming down. He barely had time to touch the floor before he obviously rotated to his body to get into the right position to obviously get through him. So yeah, that was insane. We had the end of the match was nuts because it was basically at a point where Serene were 1 point behind, and Kiyoshi obviously went up for the dunk to put them ahead again, right on the buzzer, but Midorima came up to obviously block the shot. He ended up fouling Kiyoshi, which gave them 2 free shots. Now, during this time, Kiyoshi has clearly had a niggle in his legs. So he is still slightly injured. That one guy, Hanamiya, from Kurosaki Daiichi, he obviously clearly knew about it because we're seeing the results of that right now. Kiyoshi obviously took the free shots. Someone did actually point out, because I did ask, the person who gets fouled has to take the free shots. Is that actually a rule? It actually is. So that was obviously the reason why Hyuga didn't, for example. Because obviously, you would obviously put him on them if you could, but because Kiyoshi was the one fouled, he was the one that had to take them. With his injured legs, he gets the first one in, that makes it a tie, and then inevitably, of course, he misses the second one due to his injury. And with like the 2 seconds left, it comes up for a rebound. Kagami gets a hold of it, goes up to put the ball in before the time is up, and Midorima, that's my hero, Midorima jumps up to block Kagami from getting those points. And while they're in the air, the buzzer goes. So my thoughts, I think, obviously at the end of it, I think that means it's still in play until the ball goes through the hoop, or touches the floor. I think the game is still in play, as long as the people aren't obviously touching the floor as well. So Kagami, Serene still could technically win if Kagami was to dunk it over Midorima, but let's be honest, I don't see that happening. I see it being a case of Midorima stopping it and it goes to overtime, or if because they're both still touching it even though they're off the floor and the buzzer went, it's going to be overtime anyway. Either way, it's going to overtime, right? So, yeah, definitely interesting. So we'll see what happens. I don't think there's anything else to really talk about, so we're going to get into episode 7, season 2. So yeah, if you do want to go watch the actual reaction, link is in the description. There's also the link to the full length. If you want to see my reactions in full, then the offer is there for you. But yeah, nothing else to talk about, so we're going to get in episode 7, see what we get. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, episode 7, right. We've got a good flashback episode for the Serene second years, which was obviously nice to have because they don't get a lot of... I guess over the course of the show, it has been more or less like the first years, specifically Kagami and Kuroko, just taking them up a level. So, it was an idea in season 1, they tended to just carry them, basically as far as they could, even though the second years they did have specific moments, but even against Seiho they still had, they needed to have Kuroko come in because Kogane basically injured himself, didn't he, by going over the bench, but even then it was Kuroko that made the play that allowed them to win the game, so it's always been a kind of thing up until the point of Serene have needed the first year, so the first years get a lot of the the showcasing, but it's nice to have the second years actually get some screen time, in particular the flashback that I think they needed, because obviously it allows for us to get more interested in the characters and like where they came from and how they felt about certain things going into it, and like I said during the reaction, it makes sense the reason why they were ready to throw it in after they got thrashed by Seiho, Senshinkan and Shotoku. But they didn't, and they carried on, which is I think must have been got to give merit to obviously Hyuga for that, because I'd imagine after making the basketball club and going into the Inter High, I mean, remember that was the Inter High that they did that, right? So the year that they created the basketball club, I don't know how long they would have had. I don't think they would have had that long at all, would they? But it makes sense why they would get beat that much. Like, I mean, that's the thing, is like you have everything's sort of coming together. The reason why Kiyoshi is actually really that good, of course, his legs gave out in that Inter High, but the reason why they got as far as they did, I imagine, was due to Kiyoshi and then Hyuga. I feel like the rest of them surrounding that team were still learning, because you had the likes of you had the likes of players there that just hadn't either played basketball or to a degree that you could see as being competitive against the harder teams. But I mean, they carried on through. There's a reason why Hyuga's the captain and not Kiyoshi. So I think that's the reason why I like Kiyoshi the most. I think he, in terms of one person influencing the team, Kiyoshi does it the most. He's added so much in this season, and I'm really enjoying it. But I feel like he knows exactly what to say at the right times, which makes him invaluable off the court. And I think his way of thinking was similar to mine when I was like, you challenge him to a one-on-one. If he accepts, then realistically, Kiyoshi's already won. You know what I mean? Because he's already pushed Hyuga to the point of Hyuga is in a state of mind where he does not need to accept that challenge at all. He can still say no. You know what I mean? I guess you do give him the whole sort of, I guess, bribery or blackmail, whatever you want to call it, of just you beat me on one-on-one, I'll stop it. But the idea that he even took him that Hyuga has that, even though that he doesn't want to lose anymore, but he understands that he's he has faith in his own talent, that he feels obviously he can take on Kiyoshi. He hasn't seen Kiyoshi play, but the fact that he has that faith in his talents, and the fact that he did go and accept the one-on-one, I feel like at that moment anyway, that was it. Of course, no one likes losing, and I think that's the thing about sort of competition, sports as a whole, and even other things that are competitive. Losing does suck, but the ones when you talk about sports people around the world, the ones that actually make it to the top level in their sport, they're the ones that don't give up and just keep on improving. You know what I mean? When you lose, it is easy to drop your head, but you know what I mean, and it's harder to keep it up. But the ones that do keep it up end up progressing. And as much as it is just of course, it's not just anime that does this. You know what I mean? Even because a lot of the time you can see people obviously watching, you know, this show and shonen and everything like that, like the one thing that obviously is a trope of shonen is just like, well, I'll never give. Generally, it's the never give up angle, isn't it? Right? It's the characters that are like, you know what I mean? That they have that state of mind to not give up in the face of adversity. So they're the ones that end up carrying it on, and it's easy to just say it as just like, oh well, it's a cliche, that kind of stuff, but in reality that kind of stuff carries over from the real world, because that's how it works. Like, you're never going to get anywhere if you just give up on everything, you know what I mean? So you push on, you push through. You know, so yeah, in terms of like a serine as a whole, that is their, you know, prerogative. So that's how they get through. I can't believe you guys bleached hair, man. Jesus, I was saying that was my hair not too long ago. Basically, the early start of this year, that was what I was. That was my hairdo. Yeah, but other than that, I mean, the fact that Rico from the beginning wanted seriousness, yeah, picked up on that straight away. Like the idea that she just, you know what I mean, that the reason why she hates it is because specifically basketball, and all of it being tied to obviously the Generation of Miracles coming through, is that it's a moment in time where players aside from the Generation of Miracles and like the Uncrowned Kings and everything like that, even the Uncrowned Kings, you know, like Kiyoshi said, you know, that he almost threw his shoes away, his trainers, because of what happened, but he kept, you know, wanting to play again. Everyone aside, those people like essentially have just given up and lost the will to even play seriously anymore. So that's even, you know, gone on to with Rico being like, I'm not seeing anybody that's wanting to do this seriously, so what's the point? The waste of time kind of thing. So, you know, but I like Kiyoshi's talk with Izuki, where Izuki was like taking it sort of easy. It's almost as if like, you know what I mean, like the idea that it's interesting that, like, you know, this is brought up in sports anime where there'll be a point where it's like, why, like, you can tie winning and fun together, whereas a lot of the time it seems as though, like, you know, some characters will, or a lot of characters will like split them apart. Like, it's almost as if like it's not, like, you know what I mean, like you need one without the sort of like without having the other. You know, like the idea is that you like, the first and foremost, you're there to win the game, because at the end of the day, it's a competitive sport. The idea is to win. You play to win, right? And the fun is sort of a product of, you know what I mean? Like the fun is the competition, but the competition can only be there if everyone tries their best to win. So, you know, I like the fact that like Kiyoshi was the one to sort of just point that out, you know, to Izuki. You know, but it seems as though Kiyoshi has weak knees. That's what it seems as though that is like. I mean, I had a classmate in high school that had like arthritis. So I don't know if that's specifically what Kiyoshi has got. But yeah, this kid had arthritis, but he still played football. All right, so it is sort of possible, but like I feel as though like it is, you know, his joints and everything like that can basically, like, I don't know the correct term, but they rub together so much. I think it's like the lack of they have the lack of what is it? Is it ligaments between the joints? So it's basically like they don't have as much as other people, and because of that, it causes a hell of a lot more strain on their joints. So yeah, I don't know if that's specifically what he does have. If it was like that specifically arthritis, then, you know, I think arthritis, I don't know if it affects more than just one area, although I guess it depends on what you are doing. But, you know, anyway, I feel as though, because obviously the flashback went in after Kagami specifically asked, you know, like what was that all about? and that we still haven't gotten the answer at the end of this episode, I imagine next episode we'll just pick up where we left off in this episode, like immediately back into the flashback, all the way up until they get Kiyoshi gets injured, I imagine, right? And then, you know, they'll play out their games, and then we'll go see him in hospital, and then I'm sure they'll get the answer, and we will as well. But, you know, that's obviously something that Hanamiya knows about. And that's just the reason why I'm just not looking forward to that fucking match, man. I'm not looking forward to it. It seems weird to, like, you know what I mean? Because it's like, I don't know, because it's weird with the... I'm trying to think back through if, like, there's ever been like, something coming up where it's been like, I'm not looking forward to this. Like, in terms of, like, obviously watching an anime show, like, if there's, like, a specific enemy that we're coming up against. I guess not, because, like, they tend to, like, come out of nowhere in other shonen, but, like, with sports anime, when it's like, oh, we're going up against them next, it's like, I don't know, because, like, I can relate that to real life. Like, if I'm watching, you know, my football team go up against, I don't know, there'll be, like, if there was, like, a team out there that's just specifically just dicks, you know what I mean, and they fucking cheat and everything like that. Now, whether or not Kurosaki Daiichi actually cheats or not, I wouldn't put it past them, just by the way that I see their acting. Though that one guy did say, like, we didn't do anything illegal kind of thing. Like, I don't know, like, I just get the sense that, like, if push comes to shove and they have to do something, like, if, you know, because they have to win this game, right? Kurosaki Daiichi have to win this game, as well as Seirin having to win it. So if Seirin are looking like they're going to win it, I wouldn't put it past them to start fucking cheating. You know what I mean? That's purely based off their fucking... the way that they act. Specifically that Hanamiya guy, you know? But it's, you know, I guess this is like a first for me then, in terms of just like watching a show where I'm just like, I'm not looking forward to this match. Because I know that I'm gonna fucking hate that way that they play. I know that I'm gonna hate it. You know what I mean? I didn't like the similar team that was in Haikyuu when I went up against them. You know what I mean? Because I guess it's not I don't know what you would consider an entertaining one, right? I mean, I guess what they're gonna do is like post themselves up in position where they're going to get fouled a lot and shit like that, and I feel like they're going to try and foul them while getting away with it, and it's just like, you pricks, you know what I mean? I feel like it's going to be a stop-start game as opposed to the Shotoku game where it was just end-to-end stuff, never stopping kind of thing, you know, which, that's never fun, you know? The thing that I am looking forward to is when Seirin inevitably beat them. Then I can be like, get in! Now move aside, you know, and we can get on with the real teams. But yeah, I mean, other than that, no overtime. They're not doing overtime because they want to keep the matches short. Okay then, I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why he couldn't have just went to overtime. Why not? Why not? I don't. You know what I mean? I don't I'd see a reason why they wouldn't do that. Because then, I mean, there could be an inevitability, like, where, what if all of the teams tied? You know what I mean? Like, let's say that, you know, it's not going to happen, but let's say that Seirin tie with Kurosaki Daiichi next game, and Shotoku tie with Senshinkan. Well, then what then? You know what I mean? Like, you would have to go to overtime then, wouldn't you? It's like, just, you might as well just get it done now. Because whoever wins, then that means there is a definite a definite team on the way through. So I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I feel for Shotoku, to be honest. I feel like this was their chance. You know what I mean? I don't know how, like, I'm thinking from a meta, like, you know, a meta perspective again, like I tend to do with the sports anime stuff. But it's like, there's this season, right? And then there's the last season, right? I don't know what season 3 is going to be unless like all of season 2 is Winter Cup and also all is, you know, season 3. I don't know if that is the case. Because otherwise I would see it being like, oh, well, they go into their second year and we're going to another inner high. I don't know how it's going to work. The only thing I'm thinking of is like, there's not going to... I just feel like there's not enough time for there to elapse where Shotoku are going to get their ultimate revenge match against Seirin again. I feel like this was their perfect chance for Shotoku to get a win against Seirin that could have been considered like, right, we're ones each. I don't think they're going to get it again. I honestly, I mean, I can't say for certain because I don't know obviously what's going to come up. But I'm like 99.99999% sure there is not going to be another Shotoku match, especially in this season, right? They're not going to play them in the Winter Cup. There's no way. There's no way. Because there's too many variables of like other teams that have Generation of Miracles within them in a bracket system, right? I guess we don't know how it's going to be laid out. I guess for all we know, like, there could be like, you know, if Seirin and Shotoku get through, they're laid out in the table so that they play each other first. But then it's just like, well, that won't happen then, because then I just refuse to believe that Shotoku would knock out Seirin. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, for the sake of the story, the only thing that can happen next between them two that I would consider, like, without ruining the Midorima, you know, his character as a Generation of Miracles talent, like, they would have, like, Shotoku would have to get the win. I just feel like it's fucking ruined, like, having it just tied off. I just feel for Shotoku, man, because I just don't think they're going to get their chance now, you know? I just don't see it happening. So, you know, there's that. I just think for the sake of the story in the Winter Cup, it's going to be Shotoku versus, like, To or Kaijo or, like, something like that, and Shotoku are going to get knocked out by another Generation of Miracles team. I mean, even that to a degree is kind of like a bit harsh on Midorima's character and team, because it's just like, well, for as long as we've known them, it's like they're a strong team, but they haven't really gotten a win against anybody significant yet. You know what I mean? And they've been showcased in two, like, they've been showcased obviously the most out of all of the Generation of Miracles teams. So it's just like, I don't know, they need a win against a top team, you know? And because of the lack of showcase between, like, of, like, the other Generation of Miracles teams, I don't see Shotoku knocking any of those out. So, I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But anyway, yes, that's all I've got. Oh yeah, the Hyuga Tsukishima thing. Like, there's a similar thing there where it's just like, you try so hard, but there's always, like, you know what I mean? Like, you spend all this time trying to be, like, better and better, but there's still other people that just take it out, and you end up losing anyway. So yeah, that was obviously another thing. I did say it during the reaction, but, you know, well, I brought it there as well. But anyway, that is all I've got. So thank you for watching. Of course, there's episode 8 out at the same time as this for all of you that are public, YouTube public. But if you do want to gain access to the next 2 episodes early, then you can do by becoming an early access tier patron over on my Patreon. There's also the full-length tier there if you want to watch any of these in full and not just the 10-minute cut version. And then there's the exclusive tier, which gives you access to my movie reactions and everything like that. So, of course, there is a movie of Kuroko no Basket, so by the time I get around to that, that's where that will be, okay? So if you want to watch any of those, then that is what you want. That's the tier that you want. There's also a link to the Discord in the description as well. If you want to go over there, then you can do. But that's all I got, so thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.